feel like this is going to be really interesting. And I know you and I have touched on this before, but the fact that I'm emotionally defined as a projector and you are completely open in your solar plexus, I just think this makes for a really interesting conversation, and it helps people to see into both worlds, because obviously this is the emotional authority training, and I find it quite difficult sometimes to see into someone else's emotions. So I love the perspective that you bring with your open solar plexus, completely open. There's no gates, there's no filters running through there at all. So I love the perspective that you bring into this, and I think it'll be really insightful for everyone listening. So if there's anything you want to add about your particular chart or anything you'd like to start with, go for it. But I actually have a few questions I'd like to ask you.
Okay, awesome. I will add, it's interesting timing that we're jumping into this training because the last 3 or 4 months I've been going through quite a big personal healing journey, and it's been mainly around my solar plexus. Uh, and then I started to realize, like, wow, we're actually moving up to 2027. It's all about the mutation of the solar plexus. And I've been going through some pretty deep things, and it's mainly around the solar plexus. And my body has been stretched, my emotions have been stretched, my mind has been breaking down. I've been going through a lot, and uh, also right now, you know, I've got a couple of cold sores. I've been working with some different medicines, and I can even hear it in my voice. There's just a depth of transformation that's going on, and it is very specifically around the solar plexus. So I'm excited to share. It really does feel like a mutation, and experientially as I go through it, it's a beautiful time to share about it as well.
I really love that, because I am going to ask you about the year 2027. I really love your take on it, but I feel like it just goes to show that it's equally important for those of us who are defined in the solar plexus to have that greater awareness, but also for yourself, like you've just said, you're going through a deep mutation right now, and it's not just for those who have got definition, or it's for everybody to have that greater awareness of. So I think it's going to be a really beautiful conversation and great insight into what the heck is going on as we move into 2027. So do you actually want to take us through that? Like, what is the role of the solar plexus as we move into 2027?
Totally. I want to firstly say that the solar plexus is fundamental in the structure of being a human being, and physically the location of the solar plexus, for everyone listening, is between the base of the rib cage. So there's a very soft part there, and then all the way down to the belly button or the navel. So it's like this, and it's often quite sensitive. And for many years, I would always carry a little extra weight around this part of the body, and it would be a very vulnerable area. And if anyone went to touch it, or go like that, or like a past partner or partner or whoever, I'd be like, "Oh, don't touch me there." Anywhere else you can, but that part was just so sensitive and vulnerable. And it was just holding this sort of density and lethargy, and it's a very specific area. And I started to realize as I went through my journey, specifically in relationships, because there's direct reflections of who we are in relationships. We get to receive a lot of our reflection back to us. But whenever we're talking to different people, and you might relate to this, and also projectors being so open, sometimes I would see myself, and sometimes I would be like, a different part of me would be speaking in a way. So I'd be in this relationship, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm pretty tired," and all these things. And I'd just be like, "Oh, that's fine." But it was actually this very specific part of the solar plexus that was under functioning. And the way I discovered that was, one day I was really, really high. Like I was just, everything was good. I was like, "Oh, everything's great." And then someone asked me, "How are you feeling?" And I go, "Oh, I'm really good." And they're like, oh, okay, like what's one part that like you might feel a little unsafe in? And I'm like, oh, I guess, yeah, like my solar plexus. Like if I like just tune in there, like if I somatically tune in with my awareness and attention. And then all of a sudden, as my awareness dropped down there, I got really heavy. So like the drastic shift happened so quickly, and I was like, oh, and I just started yawning and yawning, and I was like, this is what my partner sometimes tells me, like, you're always saying you're tired, you're going through this or this, and I'm like, oh, okay. So when I'm relating to her, it's the solar plexus, and it's under resourced, and it's not fully balanced. That's the part that's relating. So I saw that drastic shift, and that sort of catapulted me into an experiential uh, transformation within the solar plexus, which included me bringing a lot more attention and awareness specifically to that part of the body, because mine being totally open, it's been like a sponge for everyone around me in the world. And it's, you could say not damaged, but like it was just fully like shut down and not safe, that part of my system. So over the last, yeah, as I said, about 4 months, every day has been almost surrounding this mutation and this energetic shift within my body, within my being, within my emotions. And the stability and strength that has come in has been way more, because it's enabled my energy to drop down through my heart, which it was already residing like through the heart, but then there was a cut off part around the solar plexus. And now it's been able to drop down deeper into my pelvis, into my legs, which gives me a lot more strength and a foundation and centeredness, which is very important for projectors. So that's just a little personal recap and experience. And now I can actually go into your question, unless you have another question, but about 2027.
No, I that's so intriguing to hear. And it just sounds like it almost sounds like the energy was only going to kind of like a third of your body, and now it's just gone straight through, and it's more like you feel more grounded. And especially as projectors, we can be so up here as well. So I find that really interesting, and how beautiful that you've literally been feeling that over the last few months. You haven't been trying to push it aside, and I'm sure it's been really bloody uncomfortable at times as well. But I mean, and this is a big message that I've been saying in previous videos on this, in this particular experience, that we are here to feel it all. Like we are meant to feel it all. And it can be so much easier just to go, nah, don't know what that is. Nah, I'm just tired, just pushing it aside. But I guess the difference and the shift that we go through when we actually go, you know what, I'm going to set some intentions and I'm going to feel through everything, and it just floods through your body. I find that so incredibly fascinating. So I'm sure that someone listening has gone, oh my gosh, yes, I am feeling that as well. So that's a really beautiful depiction of what you've been going through, I guess. So thanks for sharing. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think if you've got an emotional authority, as you said, like it's so important to allow the feelings to come and to feel them with no judgment. That's when you're going to really radically shift your whole entire life. And parts of the body are going to start speaking. And if you can turn towards them with love and compassion, then your guidance system of your emotions will be purified continually. And you'll start to live a very abundant, successful, harmonious, brilliant life as a projector. Because there is a sacred quality to the projector. There is a special essence that is wanting to come forth, and it will come forth over the next many years. The projector essence will step forward as true guides of this world. Um, and that will go all the way up to 2027, and then beyond. But as we can feel already, it's already happening. And I'll go a little bit into 2027 and the mutation and the solar plexus and these things. And before I do that, you said it was you said it was what did you say? A challenging. It must have been a challenging time over the last few months, or you said something like that. And I would say that's a big understatement when you really go into the depths of the true transformation and the pain and these things that we hold, each human being holds for generationally, even just this lifetime, karmically. You come up against a lot of stuff, and the rewards are great, but it's not light work. But I recommend it if you've got the courage and also the safety in your system to start to move towards that, and also people around to hold that.
Definitely. And I would say as well, I mean, you're a third line, you're a 3-5 projector as well. So, I mean, I'm sure that is contributing somewhat to your experience, or you might be experiencing this particular shift in a different way than, what a 2-4 projector might feel it. So, yeah, I think so important, like you say, just to have that safety within your body and around you as well when you have made the, I guess, decision, or your body's made the decision for you that it is time for us to move through this.
Yeah.
And, it's safe for you to do so. It's just allowing yourself that time and that space, which is, again, something I've been saying a lot in this particular training, is that as not only projectors, but emotional authority projectors as well, time and space are our new best friends. Like, that is just such a key ingredient. So again, it just goes to show that it's not just for those who are emotionally defined to give themselves the time and space. It's for everyone. It's so important.
Yes, totally.
Indeed. Yeah.
So this transformation is very connected to the planet Pluto, and also Uranus, and also the solar plexus center, and also 2027. So in 1781, Uranus was discovered. And this was apparently what Ra said, this is when the nine-centered being came into play. So the whole world shifted then. And the planet Pluto, which I've looked into quite deeply as well through the lens of astrology too, Pluto is known as somewhat of the soul of the person. And any Pluto transit that someone goes through is going to be really deep, at a deep soul karmic breakdown level. And what 2027 is coming up, it's actually one cycle from when Uranus was discovered and the nine-centered being came into. Pluto has done a full revolution, and it's coming back to its original position for another totally new shift in consciousness through the soul. Pluto is the soul. So we're coming from the cross of planning, which, as it sounds, is more to do with the mind, the intellect, and it's to do with the solar plexus, because there's a lot of competition in the last few hundred years. It's a lot about, hierarchy, and it's a lot about individualism, and it's a lot. So there's been this huge boom in productivity, in coming out with all these new inventions and things. But it's been quite through the mind, through planning. And then we're going to move into the sleeping phoenix, and it's going through the solar plexus. So when the solar plexus shifts, because solar plexus energy currently in the world is very much about one person being more powerful than another person being powerless, control, feeling controlled, wanting to control. So control, power, it's like these somewhat like masculine, patriarchal old ways of living is like how the solar plexus has functioned. It's like, I'm an individual, I want to feel safe. Okay, I'm going to get the most money, I'm going to have the most power, I have to control people around me to make me feel safe. If I'm doing that, well, then they're feeling controlled, they've got less money, they're in more of a victim state. So it's this like, it's not true heart love connection. It's very not like that. But then there's been this huge boom in the mind. And, if you go back 200 years, you can see the scale of humanity with technology, and everything has just skyrocketed. But then we're moving into the sleeping phoenix, and this is most likely what's going to happen is there's going to be a huge breakdown of the ego. So there's no longer going to be this power over, power under, control over, control under. It's going to be much more harmonious, much more collective, much more, rather than individual, coming into more groups of people and working together, truly working together. Right now and previously, it's like, yeah, I work in a group, but like, as long as I know I'm the best, or as long as I know I'm in charge, or as long as it's not pure collective harmony. There's a lot of disharmony, and then we find out ways how to sort of get through it and work together. So the solar plexus, all the way until 2027, is going to be broken down. And one of the examples could be, the money system.